Fourth Canto, Part 2. This one's Srimad Bhagavatam? Yeah. Fourth Canto, Part 2? Yeah. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said. So this is the Lord speaking to the sons of HHCandramouliMaharaj, who are known as the Prachetas. There are 10 Prachetas. They had just finished performing severe austerities. My dear sons of the King, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. Thank you. I'm so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me. Please repeat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said.
Supreme Personality of Godhead said.
My dear sons of the King.
My dear sons of the King.
I am very much pleased.
I am very much pleased
by the friendly relationships among you.
By the friendly relationships among you.
All of you are engaged in one occupation.
All of you are engaged in one occupation.
Devotional service.
Devotional service.
I am so pleased with your mutual friendship.
I am so pleased with your mutual friendship.
I wish you all good fortune.
I wish you all good fortune.
Now you may ask a benediction of me.
You may ask a benediction of me.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Since the sons of King HHCandramouliMaharaj were all united in Krishna consciousness, the Lord was very pleased with them. Each and every one of the sons of the king was an individual soul, but they were united in offering transcendental service to the Lord. The unity of the individual souls attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service to the Lord is real unity. In the material world, such unity is not possible. Even though people may officially unite, they all have different interests. In the United Nations, for instance, all the nations have their particular national ambitions, and consequently they cannot be united. Disunity among individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in the society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear to be disunited due to having different opinions and leaning towards material things. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There is only one goal: to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there is some agreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Those who are actually engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be disunited in any circumstance. This makes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very happy and willing to award all kinds of benedictions to his devotees, as indicated in this verse. We can see that the Lord is immediately prepared to award all benedictions to the king, to the sons of King Prachinabarhisha. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananandasya Gyananandasya Sri Chaitanya Manobhisham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Shri Guru Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Sri Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a nice verse. It shows what pleases the Supreme Lord. The Lord is pleased, of course, by devotional service. But just like in any individual relationship we have in this world, a person can be pleased, more pleased, and very pleased. So the Lord is also an individual person, and he also has. Prabhupada used to say, or would say, you want to understand God, just try to understand God by understanding yourself. He has the same nature, but his nature is pure. Your nature is coming from his nature. So as we get angry, he also gets angry. He has love. As he loves, we also love. The only difference is that we're in an environment that is unnatural, and therefore the expressions of our natural desires become perverted due to the association of matter, and therefore nothing ever works out. That's called material life. And so imperfection is the nature of material life, where perfection is the nature of spiritual life. Therefore, as perfect individuals, we can only find perfection according to our nature, and that is in relationship to Krishna and nothing else. But those natural propensities or characteristics or emotions are also found within the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna is very pleased when he sees people working in a united way for service, devotional service. As is mentioned in this verse, there's only one platform of unity. In this material world, people try to be united based on individual interests. But because the interests are different, there's always disunity. And Prabhupada uses the example of the United Nations, which we might say was a grand attempt to create some kind of political and social, maybe even economic unity in the world. But what's the result? More and more disunity, because everyone has their own national interests at heart. And therefore, although they come together, there's always disagreement. Because there's no center. Where's the center? There has to be a center. Just like if you have a wheel, what keeps all the spokes of the wheel connected is the hub. Without the hub, the spokes will just be, what we say, useless. They have no real value. A hub connects the spokes to the wheel and makes the wheel function as a wheel. So there has to be a center, and in the material world, every center is different. Because even if the center is the same, in the sense that, well, in the business, well, we may have become business partners, so we're both trying to operate the business in order to further the business and to also make money. But if something changes, and my interests somehow or other get conflicted with your interests, then, which always happens, And there's always some kind of disunity, or discord, disharmony, what we say, what's the word, disintegration. So, therefore, life is variegated. And therefore, unity has to take in variegatedness also. In the material world, in order to create unity, materialists try to, what we say, negate or eliminate variegatedness. But what variegatedness is the quality of life that makes life what life is. Each person is an individual, and each person has desires and interests. And therefore, when they try to create some kind of unity based on that, they have to establish one interest. And therefore they negate the variety. Variety becomes, what we say, destroyed in the idea of unity. And which is unnatural, because you can't create everyone the same, or everyone to think the same. And so Prabhupada said, even in the Krishna consciousness movement, there appears to be disunity. Why? Because people are leaning towards material things. But there is no disunity in spiritual life, because there's only one goal, to serve Krishna, or devotional service. So only on that platform, or only on the spiritual platform, can there be real unity, because every person's interest is served by serving the interest of Krishna. Whereas on the material platform, each person has to work to serve their own interests individually, and create some kind of unity to find their own interest. But because there's no center, it just falls apart. Or it doesn't last. So that's why we see in today's secular society there is more and more groups. This group, there's always new groups. This group, that group, this group, that. It's more fractional, because no one can acknowledge that there is differences and there's no center. So in order to somehow function, the groups get more, and like that, this group, that group, the women's group, this group, the diabetes group, this group. Everybody has their individual groups. And and as they say, material energy is endlessly mutable. Mutable means changeable. So it's always changing. So there's only one platform of unity, and that's when Krishna's interest is served by everyone, although one may have different ideas how best to serve Krishna. I may think the best way to serve Krishna is to build a temple. Another person may think my interest in my way, the best way to serve Krishna is to go out and do kirtan, go out and do book distribution. But there is unity there, because the goal is to serve Krishna. The goal is to please Krishna. So there's no disunity on that level. In fact, that's real unity. So sometimes disagreements come over how best to serve the Lord, and there appears to be some disunity due to that aspect of how best to serve. But Krishna is accepting not so much the service, but the mood of the service. The mood of the service. And that is how can we work together in order to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this verse teaches one very thing essential. It doesn't talk about the activity, it talks about the unity. So the unity is more pleasing to the Lord than the activity itself. And the activity may be one thing or another, but the unity, when everyone is working together to please Krishna, although the activities may be together different, that is real unity. That is the only unity. And sometimes we use the example that in a garden you see so many different flowers, and each flower has its own particular color. Some are yellow, some are blue, Some are green, some are red, some are a combination of different colors. And some may have one fragrance, others have another fragrance. And some may have one particular shape, another has another shape. But together, all the different flowers simply make up a beautiful garden. So you might say if you only had one colored flower and one shape and one fragrance, it would be not as pleasing as the variety. So each and every devotee has individual worth in relationship to Krishna. And to acknowledge and honor that, and to inspire and to support devotees in whatever way they want to serve, is very pleasing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is actually unity. And therefore, to appreciate and to facilitate, both to appreciate and facilitate another person's service is a greater form of service than to directly offer service to Krishna. Because Krishna actually is more pleased when he sees devotees assisting and serving his devotees than if we are trying to serve him directly. So, of course, this is another aspect of the same principle. But the principle is that create unity based on keeping Krishna in the center. And if there's some disagreement, and disagreements always come up. Right? Prabhupada said wherever there's two people, there's two opinions. Even within the family, you see that. The mother has one idea, the father spoils the child, the mother is stricter, right? She says to her husband, why are you spoiling the kid? I'm trying to get him to do this. The kid runs to the father because the father's real nice. The mother can't get anything done. Right? It's just, so even in the family we see there's some kind of disagreement, or not different ways to see how things should be done. So every person is an individual. And sometimes we find, I told this story in class this morning, but it illustrates a nice point. I think I told it in the Sunday feast also. Maybe I did, I don't remember. Where it's easy to misunderstand another person, or not to understand another person, or to really assume things. Because there's a beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Marta Sparsis tu Kuntaya, Sit no sa sukha dukkada, agapayino nityas tamsti tiksuvar. The non-permanent happiness, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. So, happiness and distress appear and disappear. And Krishna uses a nice analogy to illustrate this point. They're like winters and summer seasons. So now we're in the summer, everything is hot, so the fan, the air conditioning become, the worshipful deities. Whereas, if you were to turn it on in the winter time, everyone would think you're mad. And you would be. So, that's the nature, everything is always changing. So happiness and distress come and go simply as seasons come and go. That's the nature of this world. There's one story where there was a king, and he was a powerful king, very influential, and he had everything. He had opulence, he had followers, he had some control, nice family, everything. There was nothing on the individual level or even on his administrative level that was lacking. But he got bored. He got bored because everything was not so nice. So he said to he called his ministers, he said, can you create something that when I feel happy, it will make me feel sad. And when I feel sad, it will make me feel happy. So the ministers were completely confused. Now what is he asking for? So, Hare Krishna. And, but there was one minister. Please come in. There's one minister who was a little bit intelligent. And he said, King, tomorrow I will have what you want. So the next day he came back and he had a ring. And on the ring there were 4 words. And he said to the king, every time you feel sad, you read those 4 words, it'll make you happy. And every time you feel happy, you read these 4 words, you'll feel sad. So the was 4 very easy, simple words. He looked at the ring and said, this soon will end. So whatever's unhappy, it'll change. Whatever's happy, it'll go. That's just the nature of the material world. Things just keep on going. So Krishna says, things in this world are always changing. So, but then he goes on to explain what appears to be happiness and distress is simply sense perception. And sense perception is always 2 things, wrong and limited. Because the senses are limited and the senses make mistakes. When the conditioned soul is affected by 4 kleshas. Kleshas means, deficiencies. 1, you become illusioned. And because you've become illusioned, 1, you have imperfect senses. The senses are good, they're limited. We can't see what's going on in the next room. We don't even, we look at something and one person sees something, one person sees something different. It's just the senses are imperfect. And because they're imperfect, we become illusioned by the imperfect. And therefore, when we do something, we make mistakes. The errors, And due to our false ego, we try to cover up our mistakes and say, I'm okay. That's the cheating professor. So, they actually follow in sequence. And from imperfect senses, you become illusion. From illusion, you make mistakes. And from mistakes, you try to cover it up, and that's cheating. So, or you don't admit the fact that you made a mistake. So that's the nature of the conditioned soul. So how to understand what is actually reality by the senses? You can't. Therefore, one has to take the words of Scripture and the words of the spiritual master as the foundation for all activities. Because the senses are imperfect and the senses are limited. But when the senses become purified, Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakta, Uchite, through the process of devotional service, then the senses actually reveal the Supreme Personality of God. Only when the senses are fully purified in devotional service. What is purified senses? When there's no more material desires, no more material activities either. Both. So then the senses reveal Krishna. Now they hide Krishna. Same senses. In contact with material energy, which is another feature of illusion. So this verse, Martha Sparsis tu Kunteya Sitmusa, Agape Nityas Tams Titiksim Bharata, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance. They rise from sense perception, Krishna says. So what that means that happiness and distress is simply sense perception. One person's food is another person's poison. Right? So just like some people I remember I was in one city during the heart of the winter. It was in Denver, Colorado. And I was there to visit the temple. Tremendous snowstorm for days. And the whole city was practically stopped. The schools were closed, the businesses were closed, the airports couldn't bring in planes or couldn't, send planes out. Millions of dollars were lost. And people were saying, oh, this is horrible. And other people were saying, this is fantastic, because the ski resorts are really nice now, so we can go skiing. And we got a lot of nice snow, and those people were in ecstasy. So, what is it, good or bad? That's the nature of this world. Nothing is really good or bad. Everything is really bad, because it's all different than reality. So, therefore, sense perception is always wrong, or limited at best, limited at best. That story I was going to tell, Prabhupada was at one temple and one very respectable man came. And Prabhupada said to the devotee who was with him, please get him some prasadam. So the devotee went to get prasadam. This is not Indian stretch time, you're late.
I know.
It's
I was trying not to hit traffic. I couldn't sit in the car for long.
I will wait till everyone sits down.
Sorry much.
Okay, Eric, we can start again.
Yep.
So, see, my sense perception is when he comes through the door, I think he's disturbing the class. And when you think, oh, it's so nice to see him. This is the way sense perception is.
Sorry much. I did disturb the class.
Krishna just gave us a nice example. So that's the nature of life. We see things different. We fall in love with our husband and wife, and then after a few years, it's a whole different thing. It's just the nature of sense perception. Everything is changing. Our senses are changing, the material energy changes, our opinions change in relationship to the change. And so what is truth within this material world? The only truth is that everything is changing, including our way of seeing things. So Prabhupada had welcomed this guest, and he said to the devotee, get him some Mahaprasadam. The devotee went into the pujari room. The altar, the pujari had just put the offering on the altar. He said, you'll have to wait, it's now being offered. The devotee came back to Prabhupada and said, prasadam just went on the altar, we'll have to wait. Prabhupada said, get the prasadam now. Because he didn't want the guest to wait. So the devotee walked back into the pujari room, and the pujari was chanting his Gayatri at that time. So this devotee walked right on the altar, took the prasadam, and walked off. Now you can imagine what the pujari was thinking. He was, I guess you could say, freaking out. And he came chasing after this other devotee, and they both wound up at Prabhupada at the same time. So who's wrong and who's right? Prabhupada's not wrong, because he wants to serve this guest, doesn't want to go away. The devotee who was ordered, he's right, because he was following Prabhupada's instruction. And the pujari's right, because he's doing his duty according to how best he knows his duty. Sense perception. Think about it. So apparently there's some disharmony, disagreement, and discord due to different ways of seeing things. So we find that in our Krishna consciousness movement, although everyone is trying their best, therefore sometimes there's this disagreement, disharmony. But as Prabhupada mentions in this particular purport, it's not like that, because as long as Krishna is in the center, then there's always unity. Disunity means when I become in the center, or something else becomes in the center. So this is a very important thing, a very important point to understand. And the Prabhupada said disunity between individuals is so strong in the material world. So how do you create unity? Oh, of course, the principle is keeping Krishna's desire in the center. Forget about what... See, when we forget about what I like or don't like, and we think about what serves Krishna and what serves Krishna's devotees, then our interests become served. Because as spirit souls, our interests are served when Krishna's interests are served. And as material beings, when my interests are served, then I'm satisfied. But then, again, that's not unity, because I'm the center. So disagreement is always there, but as long as there's no enmity, no envy, no, what we say, negative qualities, there can be disagreements. Just like sometime there was a story, a nice story, happened in Chicago, back in the time of Prabhupada. The position for temple president was open, and 3 devotees wanted the position. And each person was qualified for the position. And so, of course, one of them got the presidency. Now the other 2 were feeling unhappy. So what they did is they went out and started their own temples. So in that way, Krishna consciousness was spread. So what appeared to be a defeat, I didn't get the presidency, turned into something that was actually beneficial for both the individual and for the society, as they went out and opened up preaching centers. So sometimes we see that if a devotee is put into a difficult situation, or a reverse, he also sees, well, how can I use this situation to serve Krishna? When we try to control a situation to make it happen the way we want it to happen, we realize it doesn't work. But when we take the situation and connect it with Krishna, and try to see Krishna within the situation, Krishna gives you the intelligence, at least gives you some understanding of how to see the situation as an opportunity for devotional service, or for spiritual progress, or for acting in the proper way. Like that. So, a devotee always tries to see Krishna in everything. The mind is a conditioned element, and it sees according to its conditioned nature. And everyone sees differently. Therefore, reality appears different to each and every person, but that is called subjective reality. But reality is objective in the ultimate sense of the term, because reality ultimately is working under the, Krishna says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sach. Everything is working under my direction. Nothing happens without my sanction, both materially and spiritually. Krishna sets up the system, and it works perfectly according to his desires. And his energies, parasya shakti vidhaya suyate, svabhavigagana balakriyacha. Everything is working according to his desire, and the energies, he does nothing materially. He simply sets the thing in motion, and everything else works by his energies. But the energies are perfect. A great personality may have a good business, and he has his employees, and he has his factories, he has his machines and everything. But he can't guarantee everything's going to work according to his desire. Because, you know, it's flawed by mistakes, and it's flawed because he is not, you know, the all-pervasive personality of control. You know. He can hope things go on. But in Krishna, Krishna is perfect. Therefore, simply Krishna, all he has to do is desire something, and it happens. He doesn't even have to do anything. He simply thinks, and it happens. His energies work so perfectly. That's Krishna. So a devotee is trying to always see Krishna in everything, and finding how best to serve in each and every situation. When the mood becomes enjoying, then that creates disunity. Because I'm trying to enjoy, and you're trying to enjoy. Who's the center? Where's the center? There's no center. And therefore, there is always disharmony. But when everyone is trying to serve, although there may be disagreement in how to serve or how best to serve, still that's pleasing to the Lord, because the principle of service is what makes unity. And the principle of service is what makes real unity. And therefore, this verse is really powerful. Krishna is saying, I am so pleased by your mutual friendship. They were all brothers, but still, even brothers disagree, right? Kamala?
Yes.
Yeah. I can tell you some personal realizations on that. In fact, I think even in the family, you get more disagreement than you do with your day-to-day friends. Because the closer you are, familiarity breeds indifference and also contempt. Contempt is the extended feature of indifference. Indifference starts, and then it becomes contemptuous. But we see here how pleased Krishna is. And what does he say in the last sentence? Because you're working together so nicely to serve, I'm happy, therefore take some benediction. He wants to award something. Hare Krishna. He wants to award something. He's simply not saying, all right, I'm pleased and I'm going away. Krishna is grateful. He's grateful for when he sees devotees somehow or other cooperating in a mood of service, or serving in a mood of cooperation. That's a good word. Service in the mood of cooperation to push on Krishna consciousness. Although there may be differences and like that. Any questions? Yes, Nitin.
Maharaj, it's for the last 2 weeks, it's interesting that you're talking about devotees working together, and I've been thinking about this for the last 2 or 3 weeks, that how that people don't work together. Only one thing that really bothers me sometimes is that the envy factor. It's how do you deal when there is envy among
What is envy? Where does it come from? Let's examine this, what we say negative quality. Prabhupada explains that envy is what brings us to the material world. It's the desire to, I don't want Krishna to be the center, I want to be the center. So that's called envy. So we fall to the material world. Prabhupada said, old men like to hear babies cry. I'm an old guy. He also said something else. He also said, You can dovetail everything in Krishna consciousness except that sound. I was in the middle of the lecture. Those of you who have personal experience, you can understand. But envy, what is it? It's, I want to be the center. I don't want you to be the center. I want what you have, or I don't like what you are, or what I have. It's like animal killing is a principle of envy. I don't want that animal to live, therefore I'm envious of that animal and kill it. The animal killing is a feature of enviousness. Your right to life interferes with my happiness. That's envy. Your achievements make me feel unhappy. That's envy. I want to be something, but you're that something that I want to be. That's envy. Envy takes it's manifested in different ways. So the only antidote for envy is keeping Krishna in the center. So I want something, you want something. Well, what does Krishna want? What does the spiritual master want? Then that nullifies that principle of envy and creates some type of unity. But envy comes from the false ego, and the false ego wants gratification, and it uses the mind and the senses to get gratified. So, but when we're not feeling spiritual gratification, then we look for gratification on this level, which comes in the form of lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, and pride. So there's only one solution. We have to come to act and what we say, think in terms of what is good for Krishna, and what is good for the spiritual master. Envy there's all the negative qualities of all the other negative qualities are found within envy. Envy's the worst. Wars are started over enviousness. You have so many natural resources and I want them. They call it uplifting the poor people, but it's all exploitation also. It's a fact that there's two forms of misery materially. Too little and too much. The more you have, the more you want, so you're never satisfied. If you're too little, you can't live nicely, so there's a sense of unhappiness. So the people who have a lot, they always want more because they think that by having more will give more satisfaction. And those who have too little, they can't function, either materially or spiritually. So, therefore, the too little envy those who have too much, and the too much sometimes envy those who have too little because they think, wow, that person's really happy. Yeah, sometimes we think like that. Boy, I wish, there's one very popular musician, and he had everything. But he said, I'd trade it all in for peace of mind. He started off in the ghetto, came all the way to the top, and then when he got there, it wasn't what he thought it was. So, he was thinking maybe it was better to be back where I was. But either way, it's a false sense of happiness because one cannot find satisfaction in anything material. So, how do you get rid of envy? That's your question, more or less?
Well, my question is, how do you, when envy comes in front of you in certain form, how you deal with it? Like if somebody's, not saying that, oh, I'm so great and this person is envious of me. What I'm trying to say is that if that person is envious, then how do I deal with it?
Don't worry about another person's envy, worry about your own.
Yeah.
But if another person is envious of you and you can feel that, just take shelter of Krishna. Or just, you can maybe diffuse that by saying something nice.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
I got a letter from one girl. She said, you know, we were doing a abhishek of some deities. This was in Croatia. And I was calling different devotees to come up and bathe the deities. And so I was calling only devotees who were initiated. She wasn't initiated. And then, you know, she said, you know, I thought I was not envious, but then when you didn't call me, I got really upset. And I realized, wow, I'm envious, because they're getting to bathe and I'm not. And she was really good, because she actually saw herself for what it was, and she honestly admitted her own deficiency. So sometimes you think you're okay until you're put into a situation. But then again, what you do is you take shelter of Krishna. You realize that these things are simply the material coverings, that's all. Sometimes we get shocked to realize how we're still very much contaminated by the material energy, although we think we're okay. Until the situation comes, and then we get angry or envious, or we go away or something. So, the antidote for envy is humble devotional service. And another antidote is to be satisfied. Just to be satisfied with what Krishna gives you and who you are. One of my god sisters, she recently left the world, and she was being taken care of by her husband. And then one of the last things she said, Krishna loves me. That's all I care about. And Krishna loves each and every individual person completely and perfectly. So with that, we're satisfied. We can be happy. We go on with our life knowing Krishna loves us. That's enough to make you satisfied. But on a material level, you can never be satisfied. Never. Never satisfied. Spiritual level, there is satisfaction. You render a little devotional service, you're happy. You get a little prasadam, you're happy. You get the chance to associate and serve devotees, you're happy. But, I mean, many of you know this, because many of you come from India and you know life is much more simpler there. You come to the Western side, and everything is so confusing. So, but still, it's on both sides. But when we see that, you know, in this world nobody's satisfied. You make money, you want more money. You buy something, you want something else. It never ends. In Krishna consciousness, you have to take a little prasadam and chant Hare Krishna. You're happy. Because Krishna is satisfied simply by that little endeavor. Envy comes from ego, false ego. And ego is EGO, edging God out. Pushing me and putting me in the center. But you know, Krishna likes that you're in the center. He likes to put his devotees in the center, but the devotees like to put Krishna in the center. So keep Krishna in the center, or keep religious principles as a means of activity or function in the center, and then we're also keeping that Krishna in the center. So I feel envious. Oh, it's wrong. So let me not feel like that. Let me be satisfied. someone else is envious towards me, that's their problem. It's not my problem. It's their problem.
Can't it be used positively also to motivate yourself to try and achieve at level with somebody, or to,
that's the material concept. That, you know, negative qualities are motivations. But because it's material, it doesn't last. And then you have to keep getting motivated. But what motivates a devotee is that Krishna is pleased. When Krishna is pleased, he gives you, you get three things when Krishna is pleased. You get knowledge of your relationship with him. You get detachment from matter to a certain degree. He cuts away some of your material attachment. And you feel satisfied. That's the verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto. By rendering devotional service, causeless knowledge and detachment automatically occur. Causeless.
Sambandha prayojana abhideya. Sambandha jnana prayojana abhideya.
Well, that's the three principles that make up all spiritual activities. Devotional service means that it's causeless. Because you're dealing with Krishna. Or you're dealing with Krishna through spiritual energy. But don't get motivated by material activity, like, all right, all of a sudden I'm lazy, so I get angry, and that motivates me to do something. But then get rid of the laziness, and you don't need anger for your motivation anymore. So if you depend on material principles for motivation, you'll always be counteracting one with another. It'll just never end. The idea is to come to the spiritual platform and act according to spiritual principles, religious principles. Then what is that? It's my duty to serve the Lord. Even though I may not see what's the benefit, it's duty. If I don't serve Krishna, then I have to serve Maya. And what do I get from Maya? Nothing. Because you can serve Maya your whole life, and when you're dying, Maya says, Prabhu, I'm still waiting for more service. It never ends. There's that verse. I've served my senses my whole life, and now I'm at the end of my life, and they still want more. I can't function anymore. My body's falling apart. The organs are not working, but still the senses want more. They want this, they want that. So therefore, Maya is a bad master. But when you serve Krishna, you're actually connecting to yourself as a living being. Therefore, you can become satisfied, even by a little devotional service. Whereas you can have a lot of material activity and never be satisfied. So if someone is feeling you can actually get the feeling someone is envious towards you, do two things, either pray for them or avoid them, or both. That's their problem. What can you do? Now, if there's something you do that disturbs a person, you may want to stop that. But if a person is just naturally envious because of something about you, or something of who you, then what can you do? That's the nature of this world. It's based on envy. This world works on that principle. Yeah.
I just had a question. Could it be also like sense perception, or like, maybe that person isn't envious, but I'm thinking that person's envious, or
Yeah, it could be. But how does that help the situation? If somebody is qualified, in the material world, people are going to be envious of you. If you're good looking, people will be envious of you. If you're intelligent, people will be envious of you. If you have a good position, people will be envious of you. if you're, whatever you are, people will be envious of you. Because they think, why not me? They may seem to be your friend, but what they're saying is, I wish I was in your position.
Do you stay away from?
If it's affecting you, yeah. And it's not good for them also. If it comes to that point where someone in your immediate environment is, you can feel that, and you can feel that sometimes. You just take shelter for sure. That's all. Related question?
I still don't understand how to create unity.
Okay, how do you like to serve?
How do I like to serve?
Yeah, how would you like to, if you had to do some service for Krishna, what would you like to do?
I like to do plays.
Plays, so drama. So we know Krishna likes that, and Prabhupada has encouraged that. And so someone else may like to cook, and Prabhupada also gave that. So you appreciate their cooking, they appreciate your drama. You appreciate it, and if you can assist that person in their service, that's even better. Oh, that person's serving Krishna so nicely. Krishna's pleased. That's unity. Not like, well, that person's serving Krishna so nicely, I can't wait till they fall down. Well, sometimes we think like that. Believe me, envy is, it climbs all the way up. All the way up to the top. Everyone's trying to do, but the thing is, how do you get rid of that envy? Is you realize that whatever you can do is simply the mercy of the Lord. And therefore, as Krishna says, samoham samabhuteshu name dveshastu natma. I envy no one, he says. I'm not partial to anyone, nor am I, what's the other one? I'm equal to everyone. I'm equal, I envy no one, I'm not partial. But one who renders devotional service is a friend in me, and I'm a friend in them. So Krishna is inclined to those who give the service, as opposed to those who don't. But Krishna loves everyone equally. So when you see another person serving nicely, you are happy and pleased. And when you see another person not serving nicely, you help them. You be a well-wisher for those in your lesser position. You be a supporter for those who are equal. And you be for one who is in a better position. You appreciate what they can give. And you hear from them, and you can also do personal service for them. That's mentioned in the 4th canto also. Where is that? You have 4th canto part 1? I was going to do this verse tonight too, but I chose this one instead. This is nice too. Here's the Prabhupada gives a nice, the purport and the translation is practically the same. And it's interesting. So here's how you relate to others. And if you follow this, you have no problem, if we can follow it. This is spoken by Narada Muni. Every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. When he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. When we find someone equal, we become very proud of our own activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. The great sage Mara therefore advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified person, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified person, one should be compassionate towards him, just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. These important functions will make one happy within this material. So, by relating to different categories of people accordingly, we're happy. So when we see devotees serving nicely, we're happy. We're on the same team. Yeah. So we appreciate everyone's service. That's all. Whatever service they're doing, we can appreciate that. We might encourage them to do more, according to our. But it's always encouragement. It's not pushing people down. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, Maharaj. But then it also made me think of if we see someone who's doing like such wonderful service, we may appreciate, but how can we not become like morose, like, oh, this person, the devotee is so nice, and I'm not so nice.
Well, let me try harder. Prabhupada also talked about that. Oh, you're doing so nicely, let me also do nicely. Let me get inspiration from you. Let me get some knowledge from you. And then I can also increase like that. But it's not in a way of saying, well, I wish I was you. No. I'm me, but I'm learning from you, I'm getting inspiration from you. That's the importance of association. We get inspiration, we learn from each other. Not that we come to show how great we are. That's the other one there. Yes. The friendship in this material world. Did you hear what I did today? Yeah, what? What's that? Wow.
Yeah.
People talk about their own, they brag about what they're about to their friends, and that's called friendship. Yeah, everyone is telling their friends all about how great they are, so they can appreciate having this nice friend. That's material friendship. You see it every day. Maybe we're even engaged in it. So, the devotee, he's thinking, as the friend, let me serve that person in whatever they're doing. And that's Krishna consciousness.
Maharaj, I had this question. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I had this question about the tendency of getting into groups. I am very new to Krishna consciousness also. In my material life, I have always been part of some group and always the tendency of being in some group. Even after coming into Krishna consciousness, in devotional path, I am seeing that aspect of comfort zone, of getting into groups. Whether it is my spiritual master or whether it is my temple or whether it is my area. Or, what is this tendency of group and how is it related to envy?
It's the cause of envy. My group's better than your group.
Group envy.
My guru is better than your guru. My guru is so qualified, your guru is not. My deities are so beautiful. You take it in the same way, The material world, man thinks my wife's the most beautiful. Somebody else looks at his wife and says, what does he see in her? It's called love, So yeah, you're going to see your spiritual master is the best because he's giving you Krishna. Therefore, you're seeing Krishna through him. And that other person's going to see his spiritual master as the best because that person's bringing him Krishna. But if we think mine's better than yours, that's all material. When he's, I love Gopi Balava, and maybe someone else loves Kishore. They're both Krishna, but because I'm serving that deity, Krishna is coming to me through that deity. Therefore, that deity is the most beautiful deity for me. And even when I go to another temple and I see another deity, I think of my deity. That's bhakti. Bhakti means a certain mood of bhakti is developing. But if you start comparing it, this is better than that, and this is better than that, then it becomes material. Better or worse don't fit in spiritual life. That's why, when Christ made that statement, or apparently people misinterpret as being the only Son of God, that's a statement of ecstasy. That God is so there for a person that one feels it's just him and the Lord. That's why people from one religion can't see what other people are getting from their religion, and then vice versa. Because they can't experience the same thing. Or their experience is so, when we say direct in their own thing, they think that this is the only one. So we can also do that in Krishna consciousness. With my guru, my temple, my group, my temple. But how does that help? Okay? Does that make sense? So how to get rid of that thought? Try to see Krishna in everything. When you look, you see other people are also serving and making nice investment. Yeah.
Could you describe Srila Prabhupada's peace formula from the Bhagavad Gita?
You like that verse, huh?
Just recently he was getting into
You asked me about that last night, too. What is it? Bhokaram Yagya Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshana Suhidam Sarvabhutana Shantamam Yantam Vichti. Krishna speaking, he said, I am the source of all. I am the supreme proprietor. All austerities and penances are meant for me. I am the friend of all living entities. So it's broken down into three things. The Lord is the supreme proprietor. He's Bhokta, he's the supreme enjoyer, and he is Suhidam Saradehina, the friend of all living entities. So if you know that, you're peaceful. That God owns everything, everything is meant for his enjoyment, he's the best friend of all living entities. That's what it means to be peaceful. When you try to enjoy God's property separately, you can't be peaceful. Because everything belongs to him. Prabhupada says, when someone creates it, they create something for their own enjoyment. Artist creates a painting. You may enjoy the painting, but he does it for his enjoyment. That's the art. So everything's meant for Krishna's enjoyment, but you may also enjoy. But in order to enjoy, we have to acknowledge Krishna as the source of everything. That's why he's the supreme proprietor. Everything belongs to him. Everything in this world is coming from him. Everything, including your own body. It's his energy. This material body is Krishna's energy. Therefore, the energy belongs to the source. So this body is not yours either. It belongs, and even on a material level, your body doesn't belong to you. Because who gave you your body? Your mother and father. Therefore, it belongs to your parents. And when you die, who gets it? The dogs or the jackals. So it belongs to them. Yeah. So, yeah, the body doesn't belong to you either. Therefore, use it for Krishna's service, and then the body becomes a source of elevation and keeping us down. So Krishna, yeah, Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. Everything's meant for his enjoyment. Everything. But he's so magnanimous, he lets you share in the enjoyment. So even on the material level, he gives you what you need to live. He gives you, the material requirements that you can live. He arranges for these material requirements to come your way so you can live. So you share in the same thing. Prabhupada said, if you're a servant in the house of a rich person, you're going to also enjoy the riches of the master. People criticize, oh, devotees don't work. Well, why should we work? Because our Father owns everything.
No, here they become brahmanas. Over here they become brahmanas. They don't want to clean the toilets in the temples. Everybody says, I'm a brahmana, I don't want to clean it. That's why we have dirty toilets in all ISKCON temples.
Madhava, he trained under Ayendra. Ayendra used to come up to Madhava and say, hey Madhava, let's go clean the toilets in the Brahmachari ashram in Vrindavan. And he was doing the 24-hour kirtan. But sometimes he would just go and try to find a few brahmacharis and go and clean the toilets. Because it's good for the it's good for the false ego. And it's nice service too. Yeah. Bhaktisiddhanta used to make his sannyasis do that. Just to make them humble.
Sannyasis?
Yeah. He would ask them to clean the toilets.
Who?
Bhaktisiddhanta said. Because you have a tendency, if you have a position, if you're wealthy, you can become proud. If you've got good intelligence, you can become proud. If you got good facilities, you can become proud. If you're good looking, you can become proud. If you do anything that anybody likes, you can become proud. There's unlimited ways to become proud. So a little humble service may take some of the edge off. Yeah, something like that. But a devotee shouldn't be averse to doing whatever's needed. I may not do that service, but if I have to do it, I don't have any problems doing it. That's what one should think like that. I may not go around cleaning toilets all day when I have to do my regular service, but if the opportunity comes, then I can do that service, and I don't think, well, I'm doing a lower service. That's all. So you wouldn't volunteer to clean the toilets? Huh?
What I'm saying is, when the people who are living in an ashram in a temple setting,
Well, that's
it's whether you go to Gita Nagari or even Boston Temple, you find standards are.
Cleanliness is next to godliness. You should keep everything clean. You keep your house clean, you're not keeping Krishna's house clean. That's important. Not only the toilet, but the whole temple. The whole temple. Prabhupada writes, the temple is the body of the Lord. So any place that is unclean, that means Krishna's body is being unclean. everyone's, not just Aditi or the temple. Yes.
This is somewhat related, but also in this morning class you were talking about how there's a danger in criticizing. That people were criticizing Lord Brahma and then they actually fell down.
Yeah.
But I also heard there's a danger in, I guess, being the victim. Because then you have a tendency to criticize back thinking, like I myself have even done this, like when I think I'm better than them because I'm not acting like that. I'm not criticizing. Or I think I wouldn't act like that in this situation. And then it somewhat also connects us to this fault finding.
So you develop a sense of superiority because you find someone else acting wrong?
Yeah.
And you just feel, all right, you don't have to acknowledge that that's right. That doesn't make it any better. But at the same time, you should think, well, that person's wrong. But I also make mistakes too. So you can forgive. The sages were forgiving Brahman, but at the same time they were taking him on account for what he did. You shouldn't let wrong activities go on uncorrected. But the corrector doesn't mean, just like if a father corrects a child, the father doesn't think I'm better than the child. He does it because of concern. And if you think, well, they're making mistakes and I'm not going to make mistakes, you will make mistakes just by thinking you don't make mistakes. Krishna shows you your own, when you find fault with somebody, Krishna will show you your own faults, just to make you humble, to show you think you're so great. He does that. So when we should feel a little compassion for a person who's acting wrong, or some concern that this wrong activity should be corrected for the benefit of the person and for the benefit of the whole environment. But not like I'm so great that I can't make mistakes. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I was thinking that it's like, say somebody was angry at me for something I did or didn't do, and then I see that instead of I become like a victim, and then my tendency is to think I wouldn't act like that. I wouldn't do that in this situation. I wouldn't yell at these people, or I wouldn't. In other words, then I think myself better than them because I wouldn't conduct myself.
Do you think like that because it's happening to you, or do you think like that because in general?
Probably in general.
Well, if it's in general, then there's nothing wrong like that. It's not wrong thought, but sometimes people do overreact. You told me about the guy this morning, right?
Yeah.
He really overreacted.
Yeah.
Driving on the road, you do something somebody don't like, and they just, they have a few mantras they throw So, but if somebody does that to you, you're not going to do like that. Or you're not even, sometimes you even think, like in India, if you're driving along and somebody cuts you off, you think, wow, that guy's a good driver. Yeah. I mean, people really appreciate someone who's better than them. Because they also try to do that also. Nobody gets angry at somebody like that. But here is like, it's just like different. The mood is different. So you can expect that amongst devotees too. You may not act like that, but somebody else may act like that. So, yeah, the natural thought was, they're overreacting, or I wouldn't act like that in this situation. That's not wrong. But then again, how are you going to accept what happened? That's the real thing. The real thing is how to accept what's coming your way. Because if you don't deal with the situation rather than just the mood, then you may never correct the situation. All right, someone's getting angry at me. Well, what have I done to make them angry? That's more important. Even though they did overreact. Okay. But that's their problem. What can you do? But sometimes if it gets too bad, you want to distance yourself from it. Anyway, devotee sees that whatever is coming their way, somehow either Krishna is making it happen or allowing it to happen. So if he's allowing that to happen, that means there's some message in there for you.
Is that only valid for devotees or is valid for everybody?
If everyone sees it like that, that's actually the proper understanding. But for devotees, they know that nothing can happen without the sanction of the Lord. Krishna says, I'm the overseer and permitter. He permits, he allows things to happen because something good can come out of it.
What about, like, is there like a fine line between correcting and finding fault?
Yeah. There is a fine line. There's a line. Correction should be done with concern. Just like if you did something wrong, I could say, well, why did you do that? Or I could say it in a different way. Why didn't you do this? Or, there's different ways. You can say something in a negative way, or you can say something in a positive way. If somebody's doing something wrong, you might say, why are you doing that? And not like, stop doing it. Well, sometimes use a little discretion and a little bit of intelligence to act in such a way that you don't make the situation worse when you try to correct it. Because that's what really causes the problems. When you try to correct something, you make it worse. If you're going to make it worse, or you perceive you're going to make it worse, it's better not to deal with it. But if you can help the situation, yes. But when it's happening, sometimes you don't always think like that. Therefore, if you're always remembering Krishna, then you'll always be in the best position to act properly.
So don't you get carried away by the modes of nature that you're situated in?
Yeah, if you do, then both of you go down. You're trying to help it, or you make it worse. But if in some situation you can't help it, so maybe someone else can correct it. When you see that person is not open to correction or criticism, so leave it alone. Unless it's affecting you directly, then you may say something.
More on what Chaitanya was saying, like, also like if someone was, constantly angry or envious, and they do it towards you and in general, and even if you want to correct it, maybe sometimes you just lament or keep thinking about that one quality that they have. Like, how do you stop that? How do you,
Stop thinking about that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
can't start thinking about their good qualities.
But it did.
Once they don't have it, no.
That means you're blind. Everyone has both. Some more or less. Everyone has good qualities, everyone has faults. There's 4 kinds of fault finders. This is mentioned in the 4th canto, in this same book. Daksha found fault with Shiva. Shiva had no faults. And Daksha looked for faults and took it and made a propaganda out of it. Therefore, he actually was engaged in blasphemy of Shiva. Shiva is faultless, but still, he found fault. So there's those who will find fault even when there's not fault. That's the blood. And now a devotee is the next category, one who sees good qualities and faults and doesn't look at the faults, just focuses on the good qualities. And then the next category, who one sees good qualities and faults and sees that the faults are potential good qualities. Person's passionate, but that passion can be used to serve Krishna. Or they're angry, now angry can be used against the demons. And the last one, they see only good qualities. So the last one is the Paramahansa stage, only sees good qualities. The other stage is very high. What the stage we're on is we see good qualities and faults, forget the faults, just focus on the good. Devotee says, Prabhupada said devotee is like a bee. Honeybee goes for the honey, not for the student. So when you think about that person, you think about their bad quality, think about their good qualities. And you know, as soon as you think good about a person, that person opens up to you. You'll find that it's true. Because you reach them by thinking like that. It's just automatic. If you think negative, you create a barrier between you and that person. Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
But how to, intentionally we don't want to think negative. It's like suddenly these negative thoughts, they just pop up. So how to get detached from them?
Just realize that they're not real. They're part of the conditioned mind. Just listen. It's just, they're coming up either for one or two reasons, because they're within our own hearts, or because the atmosphere is so polluted that it's everywhere, and therefore it'll come up even without cause. So just dismiss it, that's it. If you dismiss it, it's gone. If you think about it, you feed it. Anything you think on, you feed, whether it's negative or positive. Some of the most miserable people are the do-gooders in the world, because they're always trying to rid the world of evil, but they're always taking on that evil energy because they're always focusing on it. So even when you focus, even if you focus on evil or negativity, it becomes a part of you. So dismiss it. That's all. Really. And you'll find you're much happier. It's not so important. Right? It's just the mind. Sometimes you can feel really negative towards a person, and the next minute you feel really good about the same person. So which one's real? It's just the mind. The mind is just jumping from one emotion, one thought to another. Never finding any settlement. The mind can only be satisfied when it's at the lotus feet of the Lord. And you see Krishna everywhere. And you can see everyone connected to Krishna. We follow this simple rule. If someone is in a lesser position, we try to show compassion. But it's difficult unless we're connected to Krishna. You can't fight material negativity with material positivity. You have to fight it with spiritual knowledge. Because the mode of goodness is all good qualities, and it's the foundation for executing spiritual life. So the mode of goodness is still material, but the qualities of the mode of goodness are conducive to the activities of devotional service. So we cultivate those qualities, and we also serve the Lord. And that's bhakti. You can't serve the Lord in the qualities of passion or ignorance. You can, but they also cause problems unless they're purified. In the beginning, we dovetail our negative qualities and they become purified. But just dovetailing, it can go on for some time, but after a while, the quality has to go before you can actually make real advancement. So dismiss those thoughts. You'll find that they're not so important. Whatever negativity you hold, it brings you down.
Maharaj, when we look at non-devotees, or...
One last thing.
Sorry.
I think it was Gandhi. Someone came up to Mahatma Gandhi, was really angry, started speaking really angry at him. Gandhi did nothing. Simply tolerated it. And then one man came up to Gandhi later and said, "Oh, that man was so angry. How did you do that? You just didn't say anything. You were so peaceful." He said, "If someone tries to give you something and you don't take it, they have to keep it." So just don't take the negativity. It's not easy. I'm not saying this is all so easy. But this is what makes Krishna consciousness what it is. We have to rise above the negativity. Because the soul is pure. The soul has all good qualities. The mind is just full of other things. But as we're not this body, we're also not the mind. So make the mind a friend.
Maharaj, there is a tendency to laugh at non-devotees or people following unauthorized concocted paths. Is there oh my god, I can't now I can't ask that question. I mean, basically I wanted to ask, is it Vaishnava Aparadh also? Laughing at people who are struggling or who are...
Doesn't help. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't help the person or you. I mean, sometimes we laugh, but ultimately we're concerned. So a lot of times we're helpless to do anything, so we laugh. Laughter has to be based on truth, not just based on,
Sometimes with a little
advancement.
advancement.
It's so ridiculous. You can't help but laugh. It's ridiculous. It's a lunatic. Everyone is working so hard for something they're going to lose. And they're so attached to the whole idea too. It's a crazy place. If you think there's any sanity here, you're so sometimes you go, if you walk into a funny house, you see everybody, guys acting like Napoleon. You might laugh, because you know he's not Napoleon. So people take their mature roles so seriously, sometimes from a devotional perspective, you think this is ridiculous. But that's the nature of the false ego. Yeah. So, sometimes we laugh. But it doesn't help. But we should also be able to feel sorry for people. And by feeling sorry, we're motivated to do something. If you see somebody who needs help, that motivates you to do something. And then that's devotional service.
Thinking like that, doesn't it give you a superiority complex that you automatically assume that you're superior?
There's called Bhagyavan. Bhagyavan means fortunate. The word Bhagyavan is consider yourself fortunate. So if you're fortunate, it's your duty to make the unfortunate fortunate. So people are unfortunate. So therefore, if if a father thinks, I'm better than my child, that's stupid. So, and on another platform, you're better than them, but somebody else is better than you. And Krishna is better than everybody. So Krishna thinks, wow, look at all those rotten idiots. I'm God, I'm just so great, He doesn't think like that. He's feeling compassion towards the suffering living souls. So, therefore, okay, I've been made fortunate by the mercy of my spiritual master. Let me also make another person fortunate. That's all. I'm grateful for what I have, and let me also share that gratefulness with others. And if you start laughing or thinking you're better, I think either you don't appreciate what you have, or at the same time you're not going to really find, it doesn't make sense really. It's just another feature of the false ego. I'm better. How long will you be better? Sometimes you think you're better than somebody, you meet them 10 years later, they're better than you. Yeah. Some of your friends pass you up. Yeah, who's better, who's worse? Who's happy, who's sad? It's all material. If you're Krishna conscious or you're a devotee, try to share that devotional merit with others, that's all. Try to serve. And if someone else, the greatest happiness for a devotee is when someone else is receptive to Krishna consciousness. Something you do brings them happiness or some advancement, you can become satisfied. That's your happiness. Is it getting too hot in here?
Can we start the
Would you prefer the fan or the AC?
Which is
You
more
can open the
noisy.
windows.
It's really noisy. Which is more noisy. That's the
Maybe somebody can get a charmer on that.
noiseless.
This sound okay? I apologize.
You can open that.
Especially if you open the window.
Yeah, I think
When I get hot, you know it's good. You don't protect it. Maybe this. Is there anything else? Any other questions? Finished? Thanks for your shot. What's next?
Yeah, we have some little bhajan.
Bhajan? Good. Can you read bhajan? Me? No? Who's a good bhajan? You lead all the sections. We need a good one. Nitin plays